Hello everybody, this is Shilpa Banerjee from Skills Zenith Consulting. At the onset, I would like to thank all of you for giving us a lot of love and support and for all your words of encouragement for our other lessons of the other classes. So hoping that you will show the same encouragement, we are starting with the 7th standard Karnataka State Syllabus lessons today. Today we will be doing 7th standard social science history lesson number 1, which is the Vijayanagara Empire. Now who hasn't heard about Vijayanagara Empire, right? You must have seen many movies around this empire. You must have seen movies on Krishnadevaraya. You must have heard songs. You must have listened to many songs, folklore, correct? So without any doubt, Vijayanagara Empire is one of the most famous empires, one of the strongest in the South Indian history. And today it gives me immense pleasure to be introducing to all of you Vijayanagara Empire. So the competencies of this lesson, that means what is expected of the students at the end of this lesson. You must be able to understand the achievements of the Vijayanagara kings. Achievements meaning all the great things that was done by the Vijayanagara kings. To know administration, social and economic conditions and literature of the Vijayanagara period. That means you must be aware, in short, let me tell you, you must be aware of all the aspects of the Vijayanagara Empire. To know the art and sculpture of the Vijayanagara period. It is very famous. Even now we can see many temples of the Vijayanagara period. So it is only natural that you are expected to know the art and sculpture of this period. To know the religious equality maintained by the Vijayanagara kings. See, it's a very proud fact that, you know, even centuries ago we had Vijayanagara kings who were religiously tolerant, who not only encouraged their religion but also respected other religions. Okay, so after many centuries, when we see kings like this, when we hear about kings like this, it's really very inspiring. And to mark the borders and to identify the places of Vijayanagara Empire on the map. So after this lesson, after reading this lesson, you must be able to identify. So if we show a map of you, you must be able to identify the places that were a part of Vijayanagara Empire. So this is what is expected of you to know at the end of this lesson. So shall we start? So first, the introduction. So it is very important to understand the situation or the scenario in which the Vijayanagara Empire came into being. See, you must be aware that the Delhi Sultanate was very popular, very powerful at that period. So after conquering many of the northern places, they started moving down south. So Delhi Sultan of Alauddin Khilji, during around 13th century, he moved to South India. Okay, his expeditions from north, he moved to South India. It continued till 14th century. So as a result, what happened? Many of the South Indian kingdoms were defeated. See, even these South Indian kingdoms that we are going to talk about, they were not very small or less powerful. They were also big and very powerful. So you can imagine the power or the strength of the Delhi Sultanate who defeated these kingdoms. So which are the kingdoms that South Indian kingdoms that were defeated? Yadavas of Devagiri, Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra, Kakatiyas of Warangal, Pandyas of Madurai and many others. These were some of the prominent ones, but there were also many other smaller kingdoms that were defeated by the Delhi Sultan. Okay. So at this juncture, what happened? Vijayanagara succeeded in creating a strong political power as a solution for South India's political issues. So now what happened? There were fragments of smaller kingdoms ruling over smaller pieces of land. So what happened when the Muslims invaded? Many of the South Indian kingdoms defeated. So now there was a realization that what South India needs to save itself from the invasion of the Muslim rulers was a very strong empire controlled by one. Okay, so this led to the creation of Vijayanagara Empire. There are also many theories as to how the Vijayanagara Empire started. There are some theories that say Harihara and Bukka, who are popularly called as Hakka and Bukka, they were the soldiers in the Hoysala dynasty who later on fighting the Muslim invaders, they became the rulers themselves. There are also some theories that say the sage of the Sringeri Mutt encouraged Harihara and Bukka to fight against the Muslim invaders in order to stop them from entering South India. That is how the Vijayanagara kingdom came into being. So however it ruled over 3 centuries, that means more than 300 years. Okay, so this is about the introduction about how the Vijayanagara Empire came into being. So in this lesson, what is it that we are going to study? We will learn about the dynasties which ruled Vijayanagara Empire, because there was not just one, there were many dynasties that ruled the Vijayanagara Empire. Contributions of these kings to social, economical, literature, art and sculpture. So how is it that these kings helped in the development of art, literature, politics and social issues? And then the third thing that we are going to study about is the Battle of Talikota, which is also called as Battle of Rakkasa Tangadi, which ultimately led to the decline or the fall of the Vijayanagara Empire, and what are the effects of this battle on the South Indian power politics. So again, let's talk about the beginning of the Vijayanagara Empire now. It was founded in the year 1336 on the southern bank of Tungabhadra river by the sons of Sangama. So there was a person called Sangama. He had 5 sons. So the Vijayanagara kingdom was started in 1336 by these sons of Sangama. They are Harihara, Bukkaraya, Kampana, Marappa and Muddappa. Out of these, Harihara and Bukkaraya are the most famous. They are popularly known as Hakka and Bukka. The capital of the Vijayanagara Empire was Hampi. As I told you earlier, Hampi is now a World Heritage Site, which is a matter of great pride to all of us. And the empire, the emblem of the Vijayanagara Empire was a boar. Boar means Varaha. Okay. So now, as I told you earlier, Vijayanagara Empire was ruled over almost 3 centuries. But in these 3 centuries, it was not just one dynasty, but 4 dynasties that ruled over the period of 3 centuries, which was from 1336 to 1646. So these dynasties are Sangama dynasty, Saluva dynasty, Tuluva dynasty and Aravidu dynasty. Sangama dynasty ruled from 1336 to 1485. Saluva dynasty ruled from 1485 to 1505. Tuluva dynasty ruled from 1505 to 1567, and the Aravidu dynasty ruled from 1570 to 1646. So we will study about all these dynasties. First we start with the first dynasty, which is the Sangama dynasty, which ruled from 1336 to 1485. Harihara was the first ruler of this kingdom. You can see the picture here. He is Harihara. As I told you, Harihara, who ruled from 1336 to 1557, was the first king of this dynasty, that is the Sangama dynasty. He took control over the regions of the Tungabhadra river. Okay, so now let's learn about the extent of his empire. That means under his rule, how did he extend his empire? He extended his empire to Konkan coastal areas to the west, Nellore and Kadapa of the east, Krishna river of the north and Kaveri river of the south. Like this, he laid a strong foundation of his empire. So it became easier for the successive rulers to build on this, because he had already laid a very strong foundation. Foundation andre adipaya. Okay, so you know that when the foundation is strong, the building is going to be very strong. Similarly, because he laid a very strong foundation, the entire Vijayanagara Empire was very strong in future. Next, we learn about the next ruler of Vijayanagara Empire, who was Bukkaraya. He ruled from 1357 to 1377, that is almost 20 years. Bukkaraya was the brother of Harihara. He took over the power after the death of Harihara because Harihara had no son. So naturally he became the heir of the dynasty. During his rule, his son Kampana expanded his empire by defeating the Sultan of Madurai. This was explained. Now, how do we know about this conquest? Because it was explained in a book called Madhura Vijayam, which was written by Kampana's queen Ganga Devi. She was a great writer, author and a poetess too. So from this we know that during the Vijayanagar Empire, women were given a lot of importance and freedom, because if you have a very famous female writer at that time, it means that the women were given a lot of freedom and freedom of expression too. Now, Bukka captured Penukonda, which is in current Andhra Pradesh, by defeating Reddis of Kondavidu, and he included it in the Vijayanagar Empire. So thus he also extended the Vijayanagar Empire. So what you see here in the picture is the coin of the Vijayanagar period, especially during the reign of the Bukkaraya. If you see carefully, you can see Bukkaraya's name written in the coin. Shravana Belagola's inscription andrenu shasana, that means there is something inscribed or written on the stone. So Shravana Belagola's inscription of 1368 explains, that means even this inscription gives a lot of information about Bukkaraya's rule. So what is it that it tells us? It tells us that he pacified the conflict between Jains and Vaishnavas. Pacified andrenu bringing peace. Okay, so we understand that Jains and Vaishnavas had some conflicts amongst themselves, but what did Bukkaraya do? He brought peace among these two divisions, these two groups, and maintained religious harmony and equality. Andrenu, he ensured that religions did not fight amongst each other. Okay, he brought religious harmony. That means people of all religions lived in peace. And he also brought about religious equality. That means he did not try to prove the superiority of any one religion over the other. He ensured that all the religions are equal. Now, kings who ruled Vijayanagar Empire after Bukkaraya: Harihara II, who ruled from 1377 to 1404, Bukkaraya II, Virupaksha II from 1404 to 1406, Devaraya I from 1406 to 1422, and Vijayaraya from 1422 to 1424. So if you see, none of them really ruled for a very long period and they were not so famous. Okay. But Devaraya II, who is also called as Prouda Devaraya, he is one of the most important figures in this dynasty. He ruled from 1424 to 1446. So if you look at the picture here, that is Devaraya II. Devaraya II was one of the most famous kings of the Sangama dynasty. His period was very significant, meaning very important in the Vijayanagara dynasty. So now we will see why is it that his rule was very important. See what he did after he took over the power. That means after he became the king, he built a new army. Okay, so he brought in some changes. He brought a new army which included the Muslim soldiers. Okay, now at that point of time it was a very revolutionary thing that he did. He included Muslim soldiers in the army. Why? Because they were skilled in archery and horse taming. Okay, archery andre billu bana, and then horse taming andre, they could control horses, they could take care of horses, so horses could be used effectively during the wars. So with the help of this army, he defeated Reddy leaders of Kondavidu region. What else did he do? He defended andre he saved it from the attack. He defended famous Mudugal Fort Raichur and Bankapur by fighting with Ahmad Shah of Bahmani Sultan. So when there was an attack by the Ahmad Shah, what he did? He ensured that they were not successful in these attacks, and he saved Mudugal Fort and Bankapur. His brave commander called Lakkarna Dandesha, who is very famous again, he defeated the kings of Kerala and Sri Lanka and collected treasure and tribute in cash for them. So Lakkana Dandesha was also a very famous person. What he did, he defeated the kings of Kerala and Sri Lanka and collected treasure and tribute. Idartha, that means they became subservient to the Vijayanagara rulers. Okay. Now Proudadevaraya had religious tolerance. What do you mean by religious tolerance? Means not trying to prove one's own religion as superior, treating all the other religions equally and with respect. So that is the meaning of religious tolerance. So what proves that he was religiously tolerant? He built Jain and Vaishnava temples in the capital, and he even permitted to build mosques. So these two facts prove that he was religiously tolerant. Some of the people patronized by Proudadevaraya are Telugu poet Srinatha, Sanskrit philosopher Dindima, Kannada poet and minister Lakkana Dandesh. Patronized means he encouraged them, he supported them. So these are the people that were supported or encouraged by him. Okay, you must have heard Barisu Kannada Dimdimava, right? So now this philosopher, there is just one interesting fact about this Sanskrit philosopher Dimdima. Why is he called Dimdima? Apparently he always had that instrument Dimdima. You must have seen. Apparently he always had it in his hand. That's why he came to be called as Dindima or Dimdima, as we say in Kannada. Veerashaivism got resurrected in his period. Resurrected means Punarjiva, Punaruttana. That means it was almost on the verge of the decline, but he ensured that the religion gets a rebirth. There was a revival. Okay. See, how do we know that Vijayanagara Empire, especially under Devaraya, was very prosperous? Persian ambassador Abdul Razak visited Vijayanagar kingdom during Proudadevaraya's period and stated, what is it that he has told? I'll just read. I have seen such a rich kingdom like Vijayanagara kingdom for the first time. The capital has 7 forts and the Raja's army has lakhs of soldiers. So this is not some imaginary story. This was written by a foreigner. He was a Persian ambassador. That means he had come from Persia for political matters. He was surprised to see how prosperous the state was. And it is in his own words, what he has told. These are his own words. Friends, you must have heard this. Apparently during the Vijayanagar period, there were pearls and diamonds and many of the precious stones that were just sold on the roads. Can you imagine? Now even with so much of security, we have thefts in jewelry shops, right? But back then the kingdom was so prosperous, like we buy vegetables, like we see vegetable shops on the roadside. Back then there used to be shops on the roadside of stones, precious stones, diamonds. Okay, such was the prosperity of the Vijayanagara Empire. So Proudadevaraya, because he was very popular and he did a lot of great work, he also held many of the titles. What are some of the titles that he held? Gaja Bentegara, Chatusamudradishvara and Ariraya Vibhada. So these are some of the titles that were held by Proudadevaraya. What happened? Unfortunately, he died in 1446. After a brilliant rule for many years, he died in 1446. After his death, his son Mallikarjuna ruled from 1446 to 1485, and then Virupaksha III ruled from 1465 to 1485. See, but what happened? They were not as strong as Proudadevaraya. They were very weak rulers, and because of this, what happened? One strong commander a strong commander called Saluva Narasimha captured the capital. He took advantage of the situation. He saw that the rulers are not very competent, they are not very strong, so he took over the command. Okay, so with this incident, the rule of the Sangama dynasty ended in 1485. and it gave birth to a new dynasty called the Saluva dynasty. So we will study more about Saluva dynasty and the other dynasties in our next videos. Thanks a lot for watching our video. Please keep watching our videos. Please like, share and comment. Subscribe to our channel for more videos. Once again, thanks a lot for all the encouragement. Bye-bye.